as you are looking at the highlighted code, it is getting a configuration value defined in the app settings or any other configuration source. Let me ask you this. Do you spot any problem with this approach? If you answer no, you are correct, but it depends upon the context. If your application is doing very simple processing and may only have 1 or 2 configurations defined, and there are no specific requirements about validations and so on, and you don't expect it to change rapidly, then there is no reason that you have to opt out to use options patterns or strongly typed. You can simply use the IConfiguration as it is defined. Only one thing I will show you later in the video that you can do to bring more clarity. But if you answered yes, you are also correct, as it also depends upon the context. When your application is mildly complex, not super complex, but it is making use of mildly complex hierarchical configurations, or it has more configuration keys defined and you are making use of those in nested calls, then you are right as well. How? Let's look at the problems with this approach. Number 1, it is using a magic string, right? You can misspell here or you can misspell right here. So what this will do is, if you misspell, since you're using get value, it will give you a default value of 0. Number 2, it is lazily evaluated, means that you will not find the problem unless this line of code gets executed and you are dumping some logs or you are debugging, and then you will say, oh, why this value is coming as 0, right? You cannot write easy tests around. Number 3 is that there are no validations. Let's say there is a requirement that delay duration must be greater than 5 seconds and must be less than 60 seconds. So what you will do, right? You can put here, right? But how do you actually test it, or how do you make sure that you find out very quickly, because you don't want to bury it deep down the code along with other complex business logic, and which will make the code less readable and for next coming developers hard to debug the problem, right? Now 3 problem. Let's look at the number 4. For that, let's go to the constructor, which is about clarity, right? So this particular constructor is making use of IConfiguration. Means it depends upon the IConfiguration, which provides access to the configuration dictionaries, which has all the key value pairs. Well, if I look at the constructor at this class, it is not clear that what configuration key value pair is getting used inside this particular worker, right? And if here we are only using 1 in this sample, but if you're using many, you can find those, but it is not obvious, because what we are doing, we are injecting the whole configuration dictionary here. It would be better if we do something more concrete or slim dependency to make this code more readable and more maintainable as well, right? Well, we will solve this without using the options patterns, and we will use a very simple approach, very simple solution I will show you shortly. And before that, the options pattern is really important. It is essential learning actually in .NET 8. I will be recording another video on the options pattern in depth. Please do subscribe to my channel so you won't miss it, and also to show support. Let's get into the code and fix all those 4 problems using the simpler approach. So the first problem was using use of the magic string, right? We can bring a little more clarity. How? We can define a config constants here, and it will do 2 things. First thing is that all of the configuration keys will live here, and when you're looking at a solution or a project, it is very evident when you look at the configuration for raw, this is the configuration constants which are getting used inside the application. So clear-cut screaming architecture, right? It is, you can find it very easily. And if I do that, I didn't get rid of the whole magic string yet, but as you can see, that this is better approach compared to that. You can hover over and the editor will show you the what key you are actually using here, right? All editor does that, and the benefit we got here is that all the configuration live here, and you can look at the project and find out what kind of configuration keys are to find. And also it is a lot easier to compare and contrast when you're using magic strings, that you are actually using the correct spelling or using the correct path per se, like PDF worker delay duration. Well, that was the first solution, right? The second was that it was lazily evaluated, right? Because we are only using it right here. So if the key is misspelled, even you can misspell here. If it doesn't exist, you forget to define, let's say, environment variable. If it is coming from an environment variable source, what you do, you can define a default value right here, right? So the get value has a another overload where I can say 5 seconds, right? Just like that, and this will, you don't need to provide that, as it will automatically referred. It's a hard word for me to say, but yeah, you get it, right? So 2 problems solved, right? Now I am using the default value. I move the magic string to one consolidated class. It is easy to spot. Now number 3, lazily evaluate. Well, that is not solved yet, because I will not find about the problem until actually I hit this particular line of a code, or the program execute this line of code. We're gonna solve it soon. Stay patient. Now, what was the third problem? Well, the major problem was, how do I actually validate it, right? So in order to validate, what I can do is I can say, okay, you wanted that the value of the delay duration must be greater than 5 seconds unless cannot be greater than 60 seconds and less than 60 seconds, right? So I can put a condition here, 5 and delay duration less than 60, right? And here I can say throw new argument exception, range exception. I can say that argument out of range exception, right? I can write the appropriate message here that the delay duration, or you can define your own custom exception if you like. You can say that delay duration, invalid delay duration range exception, and that way it is more clear. But that's not a topic, right? So I can do that, but that is like mixing 2 different concepts. Like, we are already doing some heavy processing here, and all of a sudden I have started doing the validation here. So I'm sure this will get rejected in the code review, or you will have to explain why you are doing that, right? Oh, I can do that. Yeah, that's nice of writer to show us that is, and that's really more readable. Cool. Okay, now what was the number 4 problem? Well, number 4 problem was that getting rid of this configuration dependency altogether. Okay, well, before I move on, I want to show you another problem here. You see this allowed zip codes? If you want to get the value, this is complex type, it is array. Just for your information, the get value does not support the complex type. So if I try to get value of an array, it will always come as an empty or null. So that's also another downside of using this approach. We can definitely use bind here, but it will have all other problems like lazily evaluated. We cannot do validations here. So, well, let's move on and let's go ahead and do something better. How? Well, you can just simply copy the whole thing here and paste as a special as JSON clauses. You see that it pasted. So we are only interested right now in this one, right? PDF worker, it created a property of allowed zip codes and delay duration. Cool, right? So I can name it something else. PDF creation worker right now, but it's fine. The same section here named it as well. So we're gonna stick with that. Now let's go to the program class. Here is the configuration, right? So what I can do is I can actually configuration and get section. What is the name of the section? Name of the section is create PDF worker. Is that correct? Let me see. Yeah, PDF creation worker. So what we define here, PDF creation worker. Here, I'm gonna copy that. I should have chosen better name, but you understand, right? So I got the section from the configuration. Now what I do, I can do bind with object instance. Now for that, I will need an instance where I want to bind. So I can create a PDF creation worker setting. Let me append that and do a new here, right? So if I do and provide that, now what this is gonna do, it is gonna bind all the configuration values with this particular instance of the class, right? Now what I can simply do is I can go to services and add singleton, and I say PDF worker settings. Now I add this as a service. Now what if I go here and instead of using this IConfiguration, I can simply say get that value PDF creation worker and PDF creation worker. Let me append settings here. I should have named it accordingly, but my bad. Here, now this is gone. So this is gone as well. Now let's go back and fix that. So we are getting value here. Instead of using that, I can simply use the delay duration right here, right? Now, coming back to the first problem, I said it can be misspelled, right? So if I misspell here like that, nothing is gonna get bounded to the to this particular instance we are creating. It's gonna be having a default values, as you can see. Let me just simply do that and then show you a solution. Do you like it so far? Me too. C, 0 and null. So what do we do? Well, we want to find out about the error as soon as possible, right? It's configuration, very simple, and even if it's complex, that's fine, right? So what I go back here, keep it 1, but instead of using get section, I can use get required section. Now what will happen is, since this section is required, the application is just gonna throw on startup, which is much better than finding out an error deep down in the nested calls when they get executed, right? So this will fail quickly and you will find you will be forced to fix it. Better solution than the previous one, right? But we had. Now if I do that, now I will get all those values in the PDF which we are adding as a singleton. You see? So I got 3 values here. Similarly, when I come here, let's say, go. We got the 5 seconds. It's a 5 second, correct? So now we solved it. That we solved the problem of not naming it correctly or misspelling it with the required section. Now, what if you say, okay, fine, very good, but what if I did this, right? Misspelled it somehow. So what is my option, right? Well, I will gonna show you another overload of this. So this guy have an overload which accept options. So what you can do here is error on unknown configurations. Well, if you set it true, it will throw an exception because it is getting a section from the configuration and then trying to bind on the class. When it's trying to bind, it will not find a property named duration X, and it will throw. You will see. Let's find the evidence. Come on, quicker. Okay, see, was not set. You can read the error. The duration X is not there. Cool, right? Now it is happening when you are starting your application, either ASP.NET or console or web API or Blazor. It is much better to find about errors on the start rather than late in the execution. Cool, right? Let's go back and change it to like that. All good. Now it will bind correctly, and we are getting the strongly typed, validated, not yet, validated in the context of name and misspellings. And we getting here, we solved the fourth problem, which was that the dependencies were not clear. Now when you look at that, okay, PDF creation worker, they are a lot clearer than the previous option where we are just injecting the iConfiguration. You can simply do like that, right? You can go into that and you find out, okay, these are the keys we are using here. Cool. Very clear dependencies. Now let's go back to the program.cs. We are it as a singleton. Cool. I'm going to show you very quickly the validation, right? Well, I promise you simple solution, correct? So I said this cannot be greater than the, so what I do is, if I come here and convert it to with the backing field right here, right? So it has a backing field now, and let's remove this guy here and do this, correct? Now it is binding it. If I put it less than 5, it cannot be less than 5, or it is greater than 60, let's flip it, then throw the exception, right? The exception is happening on the startup right now. So it is not getting more and easier to fix at the start, but not at the end. Well, that was the whole video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to post questions or any other video you would like me to do in .NET 8. I am new to YouTube. I write blogs on knowledgepeak.com. You can read that. I have written extensively on the configurations, very detailed blogs. But please do subscribe to my channel. Please show support. Thank you very much.